Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, folks? This your boy Just Ed, and hi. It's a good morning on this end. I am just excited to be alive to see another day. Looking forward to what God got for me. You know, and speaking of God, since we talking about him, you know, one of the coolest things about God that I am learning is that he is better to us than we deserve. How I know? Because I don't deserve to have no smile right now. I've made so many horrible decisions in my life that there's no reason why I should be walking around with this joy, and yet he gives it to me in abundance. That thing right there just does something to me, man, to know where I came from and what he has brought me through and the obstacles and the adversity I had to face. You know, I think I definitely opened up with sharing about how as this is yes ma'am, it's not a one-way, boo. You got to go round. That's how that works. How from early on in life, you know, my innocence was taken away by an older cousin. I was disciplined for it. And then again, you know, with my mom's drug addiction, again, I just grew up. It was a lot of dysfunction going on in my life. Oh, none of it was nice. None of it was pleasant. Although I did have some decent moments, it just, I don't know, I just didn't really have a lot of reasons to smile growing up. And so I think by the time I was about 15 years old, I remember being in church and sitting in that church, and I'm hearing people shout and I'm seeing people holler, and that was just never my expression. I didn't speak in tongues. I still have not spoken in tongues. I felt like I was made to feel guilty because I didn't experience that. And so I remember walking out of church that day, and I was like, if this is what it is to be a Christian, I don't want to do it. I don't even want to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's too hard. It's too much. It's too much going on. And so I just kind of walked away. I was mad at God. I was really mad at God. I was mad at God because why would you allow me to be touched on as a child? You know, why did my mom have to be on drugs? Why didn't my granddaddy like me? Why was we poor? I'm talking about, and we wasn't regular poor. We was a little house on the prairie poor. I'm talking about we lived in a little 2-bedroom house, 1 bathroom with no refrigerator and no stove. We had an ice chest that my mama kept filled with ice, and we had a hot plate. We ate. We didn't go hungry. But I mean, we was poor. Like, we was poor. So I definitely knew about boosters and scammers at an early age. You know what I'm saying? I understood what that was, but growing up, you know, into adulthood, definitely not something that I promote. But at any rate, I just went through life, man. I experienced a lot of hardship, and I'm jumping around a lot here, but I will tell you kind of where my life just kind of, because I started spiraling. It was a series of events, but that led up to me spiraling, but this one thing was like the icing on the cake. So I was 16 years old. I had just gotten out of Job Corps, and you know, I was supposed to go back for my graduation, never made it back. And I didn't make it back because unbeknownst to me, while I was gone in Job, because I was in Job Corps for like 6 months, my uncle had came to live with my mom. And, you know, I'm thinking it's cool. You know, he was one of my favorite uncles, one of my favorite people because he was just so funny. He was so cool. I did not find out, though, that he had a drug habit. And it was interesting how I found it out. So, get back home. And, you know, I went and took my CNA test. which I failed the first time because I didn't lift the side handle up, because I mean literally the lady got in the bed. I literally did everything except pull the rail up. But when they want a simulation, they want you to simulate right. So I think I did a rescheduling for it to get my CNA license, and I just kind of was just going to go from there. But at any rate, finally made it back to the house. And for whatever reason, my mama and my uncle had done got into it. I don't know what they was arguing about. I stay out of people's business. To this day, I don't mind people's business. But that night, my brother and sister was in their room, and I heard my mama and my uncle arguing. So I came out my room, and I went and sat in my mama's room on her bed. And I was just sitting there, you know, close to the door. And at some point, the volume raised up. So I rush out my mama room and go into the kitchen. We were standing in the projects in this little particular city in Florida. And my mom is on the floor, and he's standing over her with a butcher knife. So I jumped between them. I'm like, that's your sister. And I don't know, something clicked or resonated within him, and he left. He left out the house. So something inside me told me that he was going to come back. So I sent my brother and my sister outside across the field to their friend's house, and me and my mom stayed in the house. You know, I tried to go walk up the street to the neighbor house and to use his phone to call the cops, but he told me, I told him it was an emergency, and he tells me he was on the phone. I wasn't finna leave my mom in the house by herself, so I go back to the house, and we lock up all the windows, cut off all the lights, and I went and sat in my mom's room because my mom's room was the only window that didn't lock. And apparently he knew that, because when he came back to the house about 10-15 minutes later, he beeline straight toward my mama's window, and I'm sitting there with a bat, and he stuck his head and like this part of his body with his arms through the window, and he paused when he seen me sitting there, and he asked me, he say, oh, so what you gonna do, hit me? And I'm like, if you come through that window, yeah. And he proceeds to call me every name but a child of God and whatever. I'm just sitting there, you know, because just don't come through the window. I don't care about none of that stuff you're talking about. Just don't come through the window. I am 16 years old. I'm probably about, 5'8", 5'7", 5'8", maybe. And he was like 6'2", 6'3", about 240 pounds, big, thick, solid ass dude. He pulls himself out the window, and I look, and I see him go to the back of his truck. Now, just because of where him and my mom was born and raised and where they was from, I just understood what that life was, and at least what that looked like to me in that moment. So he closes the back of his truck, and he comes back to the window. I done sat back on the bed and, you know, waiting for him to come back to the window. So he gets back to the window. He opens the window up again, and he sticks his upper body, same portion again, through the window. And again asks me if I'm going to hit him. And I responded, yes, if you come through that window, I am. He thought I was playing, and he forced his way, trying to get in real quick, and I struck him. And when I struck him, he fell out the window. But in that moment, because I'm just assuming, you know, I don't know, I ain't never been in no situation, I'm thinking he getting back up. And so I rushed out the house, and I struck him several more times, and then he ultimately lost his life. Now, when the police came, I was not read my Miranda rights. I'm 16. I was taken to the police station. I was questioned without legal counsel of my mama, and I was sent to juvenile detention. I was initially indicted for first-degree murder, and I was in juvenile for, I think, 19 or 21 days, and then they sent me back to the county jail where I was in, and then they ROR'd me until I went to court. I was on house arrest, but I went to court until I, went back to the court to get sentenced and all this stuff or whatever. They did a little trial, and I was advised by the public defender to plead guilty to second-degree manslaughter. And so I had never been in trouble before, didn't have no record, and had no support, and so I did what he said. And the judge at the time asked me, was I sure? And I'm like, yeah, you gonna ask me, ask him. You know what I'm saying? He was like, because you got a strong case. Again, tell that to him, don't tell that to me. I don't know what the hell going on. Anyway, supposed to have been sentenced to youthful offender probation, sentenced as a youthful offender, and was under the impression that when I completed everything, my records would be expunged. Well, come to find out, that was a damn lie. Because how about, and this happened in Florida, how about I'd go to, I was locked up in the county for 9 months. I got out, I was given 5 years probation. And I end up back in Miami, which is where I went to Job Corps. And I go to school. I'm at Miami-Dade College. At the time, I paid my probation off in like 2 years or so, 2.5 years. I went for early release, denied. But anyway, I kept going to school, had a 3.57 GPA, was planning on graduating with a 4.0, and I believe I was a semester away from going for clinical for the registered nursing program, because I was like, okay, I can go ahead and become a registered nurse and do something with my life. Up until I started doing my research, because something said, do the research. Look and see if you can actually do something with this background. Nope. Florida said, hell no. And so that threw me into a spiral. And for a long time, on top of the trauma of being molested, the trauma of being physically abused, mentally abused, emotionally abused, being rejected, mama on drugs, being poor, no dad in sight, pressure from every which way, and then now I got a charge on me. That crushed me. I did not want to live, and several times I tried to go up out of here, but God had me here for a reason, and I got mad about it, because it's like, what for? Why? And so I just kept pushing. I kept pushing and kept hoping that life really would hopefully, maybe one day, possibly turn around. No. And so I went into a very deep, dark depression where I was just a functioning person. I was a functioning body. I had a sliver of hope, which gave me a sliver of light. And, I never showed it, but I was dying on the inside. I was dying. I didn't have, so I say all that to say, life is rarely easy for any of us. And it was so odd, because as dark as I was on the inside, or as the darkness that I was living through on the inside, I always, for whatever reason, just found time to kind of sort of put me to the side to help somebody else, or listen to somebody else, or encourage somebody else, or make somebody else laugh, or be of service in any way that I could. And I kind of threw myself into that, of course, only to be taken advantage of. But it really costs us nothing to be kind one to another. It really costs us nothing to be kind one to another. That's why I think too, like, it's just in me to be kind. I really believe it. But that's why I go so hard for people to know that they are needed, that they are wanted, that they are desired. Their gifts are necessary, their voice is necessary, their thoughts are necessary, their creativity is necessary, because I didn't have nobody telling me that. I really didn't. Did I have people loving on me? As best they could, but I couldn't receive it because, man, there was a lot more that came with that story. And again, I did jump all over the place, but I put that out there because you never know the impact you'll have on someone's life just by being kind. Just by being kind. And I'm here today also to share, when people are going through things, don't judge the way they go through things. Please stop judging the way a person experiences their trauma. Because for me, it was blow after blow after blow after blow after blow. And hell, I was 36 before I got a job making over $12 an hour. And why didn't I go to trade school, or why didn't I pursue a CDL? Well, hell, I mean, every door that I ever had gone through or walked up on, nope. And when you get told something long enough, you start to believe it. It's only been, I would say, maybe the last 6 years or so that I finally learned to deal with my shit. I journaled. I still journal, but I journaled a lot. I prayed, because in the midst of these years, I started back working on my relationship with God. I write poetry. I wrote a novel, Confessions of a Side Dude, Lamar's story. And I just believed that there was so much more that I could do. And I just didn't know what to do, or what to do with what I had. And true to the servant nature of my person, I said, well, you know what? Let me just start sharing my experiences. Let me start having these conversations with people. And it never fails when I'm speaking with people that there is something that I say, or something that I've been able to live through, that seems to speak to people. And to me, it's amazing, because you never know what people are going through out here in the world. You literally never know what people are dealing with out here in the world, as we are living and breathing, trying to figure it out. It's not easy for any of us. And I get tired because I think sometimes I get frustrated, because it's like, it almost feels like sometimes like I just can't get right. But I know that's not the case. And so I just refuse to quit, and I keep going. And what's been great to me now is that I get to live my life day by day, because again, God is better to me than I have ever deserved. And I desire to be more pleasing to Him. And I desire to be more forthcoming. And I desire to be more honest and transparent. I'm not hiding anything, anymore. I'm not ashamed of anything anymore. I don't take on guilt about anything anymore. And I trust that God is making a way. Like, for a long time, I really did sit down with myself, and I looked at the justice system, and in particular the justice system of Florida, and I just used to feel a way, which is why it hit me so hard and so heavy with Trayvon Martin, and the man got away. They used stand your ground as a legal defense when I was actually in my house and got questioned without the presence of an adult or legal counsel, nor was I read Miranda rights. and stand my ground. What? Not no colored boy. No, throw his ass to the side. And then the judge sitting here telling me, talking to me like I know shit about the legal system. I ain't even gotten in trouble. I'm a smart kid. I don't bother nobody. I got a lot of shit going on in my head. And the one thing I needed, which was somebody that would defend me and protect me and fight for me, I didn't have that. And so that, seeing that has had a lot to do with why I believe in a lot of ways I wasn't further along in my life, because if you don't have people fighting for you and vying for you and having your back, you do the best you can to do it on your own. And when you get caught up in that, it's really, really hard to shake it. It's really hard to break away from that. It's really, really hard to break away from that. And then, you know, it's just a whole slew of shit that come with that. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's a whole slew of shit that come with that. That now, on top of the stuff that you haven't dealt with, now you piling on more bags that eventually you're going to have to deal with. Not easy. That's why it costs you nothing to be kind to people. And if you can't be kind to people, if you don't have a kind word or a gentle disposition towards someone, keep that shit the fuck moving. Don't nobody need that. No one needs that. And you literally have no idea how many people are around this, walking in this world right now. They may not have gone specifically what I've gone through, but you have no idea how many people are walking around right now on edge. And they are this close to spazzing. Be kind to people. Be kind to people. It truly matters. You don't know how far a good morning went for me, or someone holding a door open for me. You don't know just a smile. You don't know how far that went for me in the midst of my dark ass days. And so I'm not here to do anything other than be honest with you and hope that I can add something to you. I truly desire that you win. I truly desire that you get through that pain and that hurt, that rejection, that throwed awayness, because you can. Your life is valuable because you are valuable. You absolutely don't have to stay where you are. And God truly does make a way. And I know it's hard to even consider the concept of God when you're dealing with everything and you know that he can fix it. You know he can make it right. I was angry with him because I had to go through it. I was livid because I know you can fix it. But know that all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. And you going through the fire is not to destroy you. It is to refine you. It's to get those impurities off and out of you. And pruning, that's cutting away. That is not a pleasant process. When you ask God for help, you ask God for growth, you ask God for patience and kindness and gentleness and abundance. Let's talk about it. When you ask God for that, oftentimes, and this is where the failure of the church kicks in, because the church is more hell-bent on rules and regulations as opposed to dealing with the whole human. So they don't teach you that when you start asking God for these things, that you are going to go through trials and tribulations, not to, again, tear you down, but to build you up, so that way when the prayer is answered, you are met, and then you will stand solid and you won't squander it away. Because it is to prepare you to take on what he's given you. But unfortunately, we have not been prepared properly. We just kind of been sent out there into the world on our own, because you'll have people who've been through things, but they overcame stuff, and they don't never sit there and talk to you about how they overcame the feelings of angst, the feelings of doubt. They don't teach you that. They put a smile on your face, and Jesus gonna work it out. Yes, he is. But now while he is working out, how do I trust him? What does that look like? And that is a part of why, another reason why that I want to share my journey, because hopefully just through conversations, again, something will resonate with you. I'm not where I'm not where I want to be. I'm not where I want to be. I'm behind on every damn thing except a meal. I'm behind on everything except a meal. And I can't do that but trust God day by day and hope and pray that, you know, it continues to work out. And I take accountability for my part in it, you know. But I ain't gonna lie, it's difficult trying to navigate, and then you get through one thing and it seems like you just right back in the midst of something else. And life just, it can be real topsy-turvy. It can be very unstable, it appears, and it just be so much going on. But I just want to let you know that you keep on pushing. You don't give up. I believe in you. You got this. And, you know, it may not mean much, but it's everything for me to be able to share with you, because peace is something that you can't purchase that. I have peace. And come hell or high water, I'm going to get where I'm going. Come hell or high water, I'm going to get where I'm going. Absolutely. And I wanted to install the link. I have not figured out how to install the link in my bio for, you know, the link where you can purchase my book, where you can follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram, and you can follow me on Facebook. But on TikTok, it's Just Ed. Actually, I changed it to Gingy. So GINGEY_JUS_ED. That's on TikTok. GINGEY_JUS_ED on TikTok. On Facebook, it's Edward Lore. And on Instagram, Lord, I don't even know what my damn Instagram is. But you can, if you can get to my TikTok, there's a link in the bio. You can click on the link to purchase my book, Confessions of a Side Dude, Lamar's Story. Or if you go on Amazon or Walmart.com and just type in Edward, EDWARD, last name Lohr, LOHR. If you go in Walmart.com or you go in Amazon, type in Edward and then LOHR. That's my last name. You'll see the book, Confessions of a Side Dude. I think on Amazon it comes up a blue cover, and that's because for whatever reason, when I updated the file with the company that I use for the printing, I guess it didn't update Amazon. But when you order the book, you'll actually get the actual cover that's been updated on there. But Confessions of a Side Dude, Lamar's Story. And I'll be back again soon with another, you know, hopefully message of encouragement. And just hopefully another reason for you to keep on pushing. So I love you all. You all be well. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.